What would you say if I told you that nowhere in the Bible will you ever find the phrase, the Garden of Gethsemane? I bet some of you are going to go look right now. You're going to prove me wrong. After all, you, like me, have heard that phrase, Garden of Gethsemane, all our lives. Go ahead and look. In Matthew and in Mark, you'll read that Jesus and his disciples went to a place called Gethsemane. Luke only tells us that they went to a place on the Mount of Olives. John doesn't use the word Gethsemane, but tells us that where they went, there was a garden there. Well, nowhere in the Bible you're going to find the phrase Garden of Gethsemane. So it was this Gethsemane that Jesus' disciples went to that night after they celebrated the Passover. Well, a Gethsemane is an olive press. It was used to crush the olives and produce the olive oil that is so popular in that part of the world. This olive press, this Gethsemane, had to be deep underground so that it could be a cool place for the sake of the olives, the olive oil. You can guess why there was a Gethsemane, an olive press, on a place called the Mount of Olives. Why do you suppose Jesus and his disciples went there? Well, my friends, my guess is that they were staying there while in Jerusalem for the Passover. See, Israel has a very hot climate, so what better place to spend the night than in the coolness of an underground Gethsemane olive press? There were no air-conditioned hotel rooms in those days. That's my guess. Luke only tells us that Jesus went there as was his custom. Now, that night, however, they didn't go there to sleep. Jesus went there to spend time in prayer before his suffering began. Mark tells us that Jesus was greatly distressed and troubled. Jesus told his disciples, "My soul is sorrowful, even to the point of death." His prayer puts into words his distress. "Abba, Father," he prays, "all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me. Yet not what I will, but thy will be done." Luke writes, being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling to the ground. It was as if the very soul and life of Jesus was being crushed in that Gethsemane, as if in an olive press. I wonder how many of you feel like that right now with this COVID-19 pandemic. I know many of you are struggling with being isolated, getting cabin fever, maybe struggling with depression. Again and again, I receive prayer requests from people who are worried about friends they have, family members, sons and daughters who are in the medical profession or in some profession, a first responder, or they work in a we work in a grocery store where they have contact with people who might or might not have the virus. Or what of the economic trauma we are all experiencing? The crash of the markets, the fall of oil prices, the loss of jobs, reduction in income. I wonder, do you feel caught in a COVID-19 Gethsemane, being crushed between fear of the virus on the one side and worries about the future on the other? Maybe it would be a good idea for us today to heed the old hymn and go with Jesus to dark Gethsemane. There's much to learn from him here. What did he do when he felt himself crushed with worry and agony? He went to God in prayer. He sought strength from the only one who could withstand the heavy crush of life's millstones. You and I need to be doing the very same thing, getting on our knees, going with Jesus to the Father in prayer, giving him our worries and fears. See, God can handle anything we bring to him. Now notice something else in that prayer of Jesus. While asking his Father to remove the cup of suffering, Jesus also submitted to his Father's will. He entrusted himself to his Father. I wonder, can you do that? Can you entrust yourself to the Father and ask that his will be done no matter how he answers your prayer, no matter what happens in this COVID-19 pandemic? We can, because Jesus did. Father didn't remove the cup of suffering from his Son. In obedience, Jesus went forward to suffer and to die for the sins of the world, to drink the cup all the way to the bottom. And he did that because he loves you and me. He did that because he trusts his Father's will. And the Father did not fail his Son. On the third day, he raised Jesus from the dead, and that's what Jesus did for us. And because Jesus did that, because he died on the cross and he rose again, we can look to God. We can trust him no matter what happens in this crisis. No matter how God answers our prayer, we can be sure that he loves us. We can be confident that he works all things together for the good of those who love him. Ours is the certainty that no one, no virus, no pandemic, no economic crisis can snatch us out of the Father's hands. Nothing that happens or that doesn't happen can separate us from his love. We are more than conquerors through Jesus, who loved us, who died for us, and who conquered when he rose again the third day. No matter how heavy the press of this COVID-19 pandemic, our God is stronger